Hello and welcome back to the Go-Stroid development series. Today we'll be building our new scoreboard and getting it mostly functional and ready to take in saved score data. By the end of the video it'll be sorting and setting the scores from the highest to lowest kind of order that we're looking for, and it'll just be kind of ready to take in that saved data. Now we don't actually have saved data, so we will be making that probably in the next video and getting that kind of finalized. But for now, let's actually just start building. To start, we're going to first create a new scene of type user interface. We're going to rename this to scoreboard. I'm going to hit Control S or Command S and save, and I'm going to save it under the scenes under the menu folder. Now, the first thing I actually really want to do here is add a text direct, because I want to give this the same background as our main menu. Now, our main menu, if I, let's go and open this up under menu folder, we can see main menu TSC on here. If I click play as well, we can see which color background this is. This is the dark purple background, which is the same as our base game. So we want the text direct texture to be set to that dark purple background. So let's go and load a new asset. Let's go under the background and let's do dark purple PNG. Now I'm going to set this to full rect and then change the stretch mode here from scale to tile. So it's now set correctly. Now I'm going to hit Control S and save, and we now have the same background. Now let's go with the normal setup that I usually like to do with UI. The first thing that I like to grab is a margin container and then set that to full rect. Change the themes, constants, and the margin to 12 pixels down the row, like so. And now inside that margin container, I can add a VBox container. So this is going to be our vertical box. There we go. So inside the vertical box, I'm going to want two things. I'm going to want a title, so a label. And this label is just going to be for, saying the word high scores. And then one more thing inside the VBox container, it will be a button. Because we're going to want some way of going back from the high score to the main menu, right? So I'm going to put the text here, I'm going to write return to main menu. Now let's rename these nodes as well. So the label will be the title underscore label, and the button will be the return underscore button. I'm going to hit Control S or Command S and save. Let's go and also center up our high scores text. So we're going to click on it, go into the inspector, vertical alignment. We're going to write center, horizontal alignment, sorry, center. And we can do vertical alignment center as well. Let's go down to the theme overrides, font sizes, and we'll give it a 32. That's a bit too small. Let's go 48. There we go. 48 pixel size or font size. Now let's go to the return button and let's go down to the theme overrides, font sizes, and we'll change this to a 24 font size. Now we'll do 32. 32 seems happy. There we go. Now, to get a general idea of how I want this to look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the alignment for the VBox down into end. So it's going to start from the bottom. Then I'm going to add, so I'm going to use Control A or Command A to add. I'm going to add a separator in here. And we're going to add a H separator or a horizontal separator. Now what I want to do is I want to adjust the VBox container's separations, so I can get a rough idea of what type of separation I'm going to want. Now this will change a little bit, but this is kind of how it's going to look. I'm going to rename that separator to placeholder. So what I can do now is run the current scene with F6, and that is kind of how it looks. I don't like the main menu button being stretched out all the way along the bottom of the screen, so let's go and change the layout for that, container sizing, and on the horizontal we are going to shrink to center. Let's go back and look at that. Okay, final tweak is changing the label. I want an outline around the label. So let's go and click on label, go into the inspector, go to theme overrides, constants, pull this out a bit, shadow or outline size here. We're going to tick that and make it a, let's do a 6 pixel outline. And then let's go into colors and change the font shadow color. Actually, we'll just keep it black for the outline. There we go. Let's run the scene again and see how that looks. See, I like this. This is already looking pretty good. So with that done, the next thing to do is actually add a bunch of labels on the inside of this where the placeholder is. But instead of adding labels, I'm going to go one step further and kind of turn this into a bit of a component. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new scene of user interface, and we are going to rename this to scorecard. I'm going to hit Control S and save. I'm going to save that in the same folder that we save everything else in, so the menu folder. And in this, I'm going to add a H box, so a horizontal box. Now inside that horizontal box, I'm going to add 3 labels. So 1, and I'm going to use Command or Control D to duplicate, so I get 3 labels. The first one, I'm going to write place, and then put a dot. The second one, I'm going to write name, put a dot. And the third one, I'm going to write score and put a dot. So we get the rough idea of what we want this to look like, right? So you're going to have the placement, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the name of the actual player that got the score, and the score they currently have. So I'm going to click on the first label and then shift click down. Actually, we'll do this one at a time, the easy way. We're going to rename the first label to placement underscore label. I don't like that not having a capital L. There we go. The second one we will rename to the name underscore label. And the third one we will rename to the score underscore label. So we now have the 3 labels. Now I'm going to shift click and select all of them. I'm going to scroll down to the theme overrides, the font sizes, and I'm going to make these 24 pixel size. That should do. And I'm going to center this box. I'm going to hit Control S and save. And now, just with this made and saved, we can go back to the main menu. Not the main menu, the scoreboard that we just created. And then instead of this placeholder here, we can right click on it. We can come down to change type. And we're going to change the type to another VBox. And now inside this VBox, I'm going to use Control Shift A to add. I can add 5 scorecards. So let's go and add 5 scorecards. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see, they're kind of layered on top of each other and things are separated. So if we try to separate through the normal VBox here, it's not really going to work the way we want it to. So I'm going to turn the original separation down to 0. And then I'm going to go to the new score box for the what's known as placeholder, which I'm going to rename here to score card container. There we go. I'm going to go to the theme overrides, constants for that, and now I'm going to adjust the separation here a little bit. Now I'm going to adjust the separation on the original VBox, and that's roughly what we want. So the original VBox here has a separation of 70, and the scorecard container here has a separation of 90. So we get this nice separation throughout all of our scores. No matter if I full screen or window mode this, they are listed and kind of laid the same way. That looks good. I like that. Now we're going to go back to the scorecard here, and we're going to add a script to the actual scorecard itself. Now I'm going to remove all of the original functions. I'm going to give this a class underscore name of scorecard. And we are going to need onReady variables for our placement, our name, and our score labels. So let's go and do that. Placement, name, and if you're wondering how I'm doing this, I am left click drag and then holding Control to drop. So we have all of our labels. I don't like how Godot auto sets these. Sometimes it doesn't leave out of space here. I like the space. I don't know why, it makes me happy. Little thing that I guess I got used to. But what we're going to do now is we are going to go through and create setter functions for each label. So the first one will be func set underscore placement underscore label. It's going to take parameters of a placement of type integer, and it will be a void return type. Now we're going to use the fancy string setting things we did in the last video to set the kind of labels in this. We're going to grab the placement label, dot text, and set it equal to a new string of %s, where % is equal to the placement. I'm going to add a little full stop after this %s here. All that is going to do is put just a little, little dot in front of the number that gets passed through. So that is the placement handled. Let's go and create another function for set underscore name underscore label. It will take a player underscore name of type string, and of course a void return type. And we are going to pretty much do the same thing. We're going to grab the name label, dot text, and set that equal to a new string of type %s, and then go put a space and a colon afterwards, where % is equal to the player name. So that's basically going to be, it's going to basically look like this. So it's going to go 1, which is the placement label for the first place, the name, which I'm going to just write grow, and then a colon and the score. So that's how our labels are going to look. But that means we actually also need to do the score label. So let's go and do that. Set underscore score underscore label. We're going to be taking in a player underscore score of type integer and return type void. And once again, pass through the score label dot text, set that equal to a new string of %s, where % is equal to the player score, not the placement label, the player score. There we go. So that's the setter functions ready for our scorecards here, which is really good, right? That's our scorecards completely set up and ready to go. Let's now go back and add a new script to the scoreboard. So the scoreboard is the thing that's going to be in control of a lot of this, which is really, really cool. And there's some fun little functionalities that I've kind of made in this that are really useful. And this isn't the most optimized thing. I'm just going to throw that out there, but it's fun. So let's create a script and add it to the scoreboard. Let's get rid of the ready functions and the process functions and give ourselves a class underscore name of scoreboard. And let's think about what we want. Well, we're going to need to get a list of, or get an array of every single scorecard that we currently have. So to do that, we're going to make an onReady variable to the scorecard container here. So drag, control, drop. And then after that, we're going to make a new line and we're going to create an array. We're going to go var score underscore card underscore array. And it will be of type array, and we will pass through the, there you go. So basically this is going to be an array of scorecards, and we're going to set that equal to an empty array. So now we actually do need ready to, or access to our ready function. So I'm going to write that, and for now I'm going to write pass. So let's start from kind of scratch, right? Let's start from step 1. Step 1 is is filling the scorecard array with scorecards. So let's create a function, and we're going to call this build underscore score underscore card underscore array. It'll be of a void return type, and it won't take any parameters. And we want to grab every scorecard that is a child of the scorecard container. Okay, so let's do this in a for loop. Let's go for score underscore card in scorecard container dot get underscore children. Now here's the thing, before I carry on, scorecard container dot get children, this function here actually returns an array of children. So what we're doing is for scorecard in the scorecard container array. So we're kind of just creating another array, even though there already is one, but this is just a really kind of easy way of kind of like showing what we're actually doing. So for scorecard in scorecard container dot get children, we want to go scorecard array dot append, and we want to append the scorecard, like the individual scorecard that we just grabbed. So that is going to grab an array of every single scorecard we have. Let's pass that into the ready function. So we'll write build scorecard array and hit Control S and save. Now I'm going to go back to the main menu scene real quick and main menu script for the on high score button down here. And we are just going to very quickly write get underscore tree dot change scene to file, and we will pass through the scoreboard.tscn here and hit Control S and save. So now when I actually run the game, what it's going to do when we click the high score is it will load up our high score. Right, back to our scorecard, our actual scoreboard. after the for loop here, I'm just going to print out the scorecard array. So basically, when I enter the high scoreboard here, it will print out in the output here what the array is full of. And there we go. We've got access to all of our individual scorecards. Right. So with our individual scorecards set, we're going to now want to, like, this is where I've chosen at least to set the parameter for the, or set the variable, I should say, for the placement specifically. Now, to do that, I'm going to create a new variable above our ready function. And it's going to be called number underscore of underscore cards. And it'll be of type int, we'll set it equal to 0. Now, what we're going to want to do in here, in our for loop, before we append the scorecard, we're going to want to write number of cards plus equals 1. So now we're also getting a count of how many cards are here. Once again, this isn't entirely necessary to do. We could just use scorecard container.getChildren.size if we really wanted to, and we will get a size array, or the size of the array of getChildren. Now, there is a reason why I'm telling you the more optimized way of doing this without setting new variables. It's just because, hey, if you really want to know how to do it in the most optimal way, that's how you do it. But this is a kind of much easier to visualize way of what I'm doing. So for scorecard, in scorecard container.getChildren, number of cards plus equals 1. Now what we can do is grab that scorecard that we've just grabbed, and then use dot set underscore name underscore, not set name label, set placement underscore label. And we want to pass through the number of cards. Now I'm going to hit Control S and save, and I'm going to click play. And let's see what happens. Now we are setting the placements, right? We are getting the actual placement numbers 1 through 5. Perfect. So that is the placement setup and us actually setting up the array. Now let's go create a new function. This new function is going to be called set underscore score underscore cards. Take no parameters, and it will be of void return type. For now, I'm going to write pass. So what we're going to want to do here, or what this function is kind of designed for, is actually setting the individual variables for each card. So it's going to be running those individual functions of set name and set score. But to do that, we're actually going to need a name and score, right? So what I want to do is I want to be saving our scores and names as or inside of a dictionary, because it's only 2 values that we need to save, the score and the name. After that, it's just sorting them. So let's go and create a dictionary. At the very top here, we'll do it above number of cards and below the scorecard array. We're going to write var saved underscore score underscore dictionary of type dictionary, and then we're going to set that equal to, open the curly braces, and we'll press enter. So now we have to fill out the dictionary. So there is some really interesting things we can do here. One thing you cannot do is sort the dictionary in a kind of numerical fashion, especially if you have the keys set to strings. So you might be tempted to, write the name. So we'll go, let's just do beans as the name, and then the value of 100, right? This is our test. Now, this is a bit awkward to kind of get the actual key here, or get the value from the key and then start organizing it. So what we're going to do to make it so we can organize our kind of dictionary or our high scores properly is we're going to do the value, so the integer, the score, and then the name. So let's do Crow has a score of 100. Let's then go 25 for, let's go Jim. Jim has a score of 25. I'm going to just take a second and just fill these out in a random order. So it doesn't need to go highest to lowest, lowest to highest. We're going to be sorting that. And that's kind of why we want this. This dictionary is going to be our little tester. So the next one will be 1,000, and we'll set it to waffles. I don't know why, but I'm feeling like waffles right now. Let's go and create another one for, let's do 20,000. That will be for, let's go Sarah for 20,000, and we need one more name. Let's go and do 1225 as a weird odd number, and this will just be set to let's go marshmallows. Don't know why, feel like marshmallows too. So that is our 5, I miscounted that, that is our 5 current saved scores. Now we only have a plan on saving 5 scores anyway. There will be a way to optimize it to go and do hundreds of scores if you really want that, but I only want 5 for this, so we're only going to do 5. But we have our dictionary of the saved scores. Now let's scroll down to our set score cards. The first thing I want to do in here is create a new array, and it's going to be the score underscore array. Now what this is going to be is an array of integers. We'll set that equal to an empty array. And we are going to want to store the individual scores, but not the names inside of this. So to do that, we need to access what is known as the key to the dictionary. So these scores that we have here, what I'm calling scores, are actually the keys. And then the value is the thing that comes after the colon. So here is the key and here is the value. Now, if you did the key as the name and then the value as the, well, score, it will make this a little bit more difficult to do. So in this instance, the key is the score. So we want to go for key in, actually we'll go for score in saved score dictionary, score array, dot append, and we'll append that score. So now we are getting a dictionary. Actually, I'm going to run this really quickly after the build scorecard array in the ready function. So we'll go set scorecards. And now I'm going to just very quickly print out the score array just so you can see the scores in order. So let's hit play. Go to the high scores. And as you can see, they're not actually ordered correctly, but we do have all of the scores inside of an array now. So a really fun and easy thing we can do here is we can go score underscore array dot sort. Now that will sort the score array. Let's go and hit play. Let's go to the high score, and now it's sorting it from lowest to highest. So another fun thing you can do after this is go score underscore array dot reverse. And now we have all of our scores going from highest to lowest. So we have our scores setting up the way we want our scoreboard set up. So with that done, what we now actually want to do is start setting our score cards. So we're going to go for score underscore card. So now we're going to go and do another for loop. So we'll go for scorecard, score underscore card in the number of cards specifically. Remember this variable that we're setting at the very start on ready, the number of cards we currently have. The other thing you could do here is just go scorecard underscore container dot get children dot size, and that will, you know, that's just a really long boring way of doing it. So we're just going to go number of cards because we already have a number of cards set up. So for scorecard in number of cards, we now want to grab the score array or scorecard array for the specific score card that we have. Then we want to go dot set, and we want to set the name label. So now what do we want to set it to? We have to pass in a player name of string. Well, we're going to pass through the saved score dictionary. We're going to open up the little accessor here with the square brackets. We want to pass through the score underscore array, and then we want to pass through the score underscore card. So this is a really kind of confusing little thing we've got here. Basically, we're using the count in number of cards that we're currently on. So this will be at 1, right? Or 0, 1, 0. It will be at the start. And then we'll pass that into the scorecard array to access the very first value in the array. And that's going to be the first scorecard. We're going to set the name label of that first scorecard to the saved score dictionary. Now we want to access the key inside of that dictionary, which is the same which is basically the score. And the way we're passing that score through is by grabbing the score array score card. It's a little bit confusing, but it's basically a kind of convoluted way of going. Here is how you access the specific sorted value for the name. So that is the name sorted. Let's go and hit play and just go and just test to make sure it works. So there we go. We're now setting the names correctly, right? So we know Sarah has the highest score because she's got 20,000 points. Let's go and actually set the scores up now. This one is even easier. We can grab the scorecard array and we can grab the scorecard. And we can just use dot set score label and just pass through the score array or scorecard array and pass through the score underscore card. Pass through, so we want the score array and then we want to pass through the score card like so. So let's hit Control S and save. Let's go back, hit play, and we will go to the high scores. And there we go. We are now getting sorted, like numerically sorted values with all of the scores lining up correctly with the correct names and keys. So that is pretty much our score label done. We have one more thing that we want to do on our score label, and that is hooking up the return button. So let's go and click on the return button, go to node, signals, one button down, hit connect. And in here, we're going to want to get underscore tree dot change scene to file, and we want to pass through the main menu. So we want to go back to the main menu. And now we have a fully looping scoreboard and scorecard. So I could start the game, I can play, I can die, I come back to the main menu, I go to the high scores, scores are here. Now we return to the main menu. Now the next part of this, of course, is actually setting the score dictionary to the current saved scores that we actually have. So we don't have any saved scores yet, and we don't have any way of saving the scores. So in the next video, we are going to go through how we're going to handle save data for handling or for the actual scores themselves, and then how we kind of set that up and get all of this linked together so we can start saving our scores and showing them on the high score board. We'll also handle, like, you know, popping numbers off and auto sorting and all of those fun things. But yes, for now, that is all I have. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having a great day and a great game dev journey, and I will see you in the next video.